here for Seconds Out with the one and only Wade Plemons ahead of his boxing debut this weekend. Wade, good to see you. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. This is the biggest moment I can say in my career, honestly in my life, because of what I'm doing and where I'm doing it, and coming back to Misfits and being with BJ Flores and my team. It's all coming together nicely.
Just dissecting, of course, the training camp and linking up with BJ Flores. How much because you've got the kind of athletic background, Georgia Tech wide receiver, I believe it was, how much of the muscle memory from doing that sort of training could translate over into the boxing training? Because it wouldn't have been, I guess, a completely new start into sports, but did that translate over in any sort of way?
I mean, yeah, anytime you do athletics, things translate, but boxing's different. It's not football, it's not basketball, it's not, as you guys would call it football, as I'd call it soccer. It's none of those sports. This is completely different, and BJ has been the biggest help in understanding that and why it's different and how it's different, not just physically but mentally. And he's prepared me in every aspect, so I'm ready.
What would you say was the toughest aspect?
Just understanding what this is. As a commentator, I got to see an outside perspective for a very long time, but being a fighter now is completely different. And I didn't know how different it was until I started doing it, and until we started doing the mental reps and the physical reps and all the things that we've done in camp to prepare me to be what I'm going to be on Saturday, which is an absolute stone cold killer.
So would you say it's a different level of understanding from, like you mentioned there, being on the outside looking in? Because I think from various points of covering the sport, I've always thought, maybe do I want to do the same sort of thing? But I've thought, I wouldn't want to. But do you feel like you've got a different level of understanding from getting into the sparring, and now you will off of the back of the weekend and having the fight, and that will just open your mind more to the game as a total?
For sure. I mean, absolutely. If you are going to get into this sport, it's absolutely a sacrifice. And you even kind of said get into the game. It's not a game. It's not a game. This is different. And it did take me stepping in and getting into camp, and now getting into the ring to realize that. So if anybody wants to do it, just be prepared to dedicate yourself fully, because that's what this sport takes.
When Ben, and he's had a couple of fights, but I think his one of the recent fights, it might have been the most recent one, it was pictured afterwards or filmed afterwards with McGregor, and McGregor was like, you can talk about the sport now, you know it, you can talk about it. It's almost like it's a rite of passage for some fighters to feel that commentators like us or people in the sport like us behind the cameras might need to take to fully understand it. Do you think you'll get that level of respect towards yourself for having taken the steps into the ring, and is that something you're searching for as well?
If that comes, great, but I'm doing this for me. This is a journey for me to understand the sport better, and for me to be a better commentator after my time in the ring is done, whenever that may be. But it wasn't for anybody else outside of it. If I get that respect, amazing. But what I'm looking for is the discipline, the dedication, and just the understanding of the sport that I didn't have as a commentator that I will have after this fight.
No getting away from this wasn't the original opponent that it was meant to be. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Masai Warrior, what are the challenges you expect to face from him at the weekend?
He's athletic. He's big. I'm sure that he's been training hard. So, we're prepared for whatever he brings. Haven't seen too much on him. Not really concerned with that, and even if I did see it. So, like I said, the game plan is we're going to focus on us and what we can do, and whatever that takes shape in the fight, I'll be ready for. So he's a big, strong guy, but that's really all I know.
This is a fast-moving sport and industry where I guess the best way to keep your name in people's mouths is to get a knockout. Is that the plan here?
For sure. Absolutely. We prepared to win this fight in all aspects, but I want to knock him out.
Originally, HS Tiki-Taki was scheduled to be in the opposite corner. You had the back and forth over in Qatar and afterwards. Do you expect to, in the future, maybe reignite that rivalry with HS?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got to sort out whatever he's got to sort out and deal with, what's going on with him in his life. But if that opportunity arises, we'll be here. I've said yes only. So I'll be right here, ready and waiting on him or whoever else we decide to go with.
And amongst the storyline of this fight is, of course, the storyline with you and Mams Taylor. Is part of getting the victory this weekend to stick it to Mams in a sense as well?
Sticking it to Mams is very low on my list. If I happen to ruin some plans for him, I'm okay with that. But again, it's more about going in and doing exactly what I know I can do, what BJ's trained me to do, and whatever happens after that happens. But yeah, it's about me.
The 2025 hit list. Who's on the top of the list?
Masai Warrior, because he's first. So everything else after that, we'll see what happens. But we don't look past anybody. And I know that's the boilerplate answer, but it's the truest one. You know, I'm green. I'm new. Who am I to go out and call all these people out that have been doing it and putting in work and everything else? I'll take care of business, and then we'll look forward.
Right, let me get your thoughts on a couple of things before I let you go and focus on your fight again. Commentator, pundit in the industry, I want to get your take on, at the top of the sport, Tyson Fury is suggesting that he's retiring. Are you buying that Tyson Fury is retiring?
You know, I don't know. This is, I think, number 6. Sixth time he's done this, but it's honestly, to me, there's only really one fight right now for Tyson, and that's Anthony Joshua. So if that fight can't materialize, why should the guy fight? You know, he's tested himself against some of the best in this era. He's proven himself as one of the best in this era. Obviously, losing to Usyk is no, bad thing. Everybody's done it, so I really don't know what else there is for him, but only he knows that. I would say Anthony Joshua is still out there, so I would take it with a grain of salt, but I wouldn't be upset if he was done.
From one Fury to another, it was supposed to be Tommy Fury. It's not Tommy Fury. It's now Darren Till versus Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor, a firm favorite in your eyes, do you feel?
Against Darren Till? Yeah. I'm going to lean toward Anthony Taylor. Yeah, I think he possesses some skills and experience in boxing specifically that maybe Darren hasn't seen yet, or maybe is going to be a little new to. A lot of MMA guys come over and struggle pretty quickly in the boxing ring because it is a completely different sport, and the skill sets that you utilize are completely different. So I think it'll just be an adjustment period for Darren, and Anthony will take advantage of that.
How different would the conversation be if this was a Misfits MMA fight?
Ooh, yeah, that would be a little different. I think Darren was and is a very, very high level MMA fighter, and I think that would probably go his way.
With Tommy Fury pulling out, he suggested that, look, there's bigger and better fights I'm looking for, but right now we don't seem to have anything in the pipeline for Tommy. What do you think Tommy does get up to this year?
I don't know, man. I don't know what that was. When you sign on the dotted line, the Fury family, they're about honor and all that. I'm kind of shocked that he pulled out, but at the same time, I'm not. I've seen it before. We've seen him do that a couple times with Jake Paul, and I guess, business is business. I can't really speak on what it is they were looking for or what it is they ended up getting out of it. It doesn't seem like a lot, but in 2025, I mean, if I'm selfish and putting my commentator hat back on, I want to see him and Jake. I want to see him and KSI. I would love to see both those rematches, but who knows? Who knows what they get up to with Tommy? I would have loved to have seen the Darren Till fight. Tommy's, whether you want to believe it or not, he's put himself in a position to have his name attached to big fights, and I'm interested in watching him have big fights. He's just got to show up and do it.
Way to leave the final word with you. Showing up and doing it is what you're doing this weekend, Saturday night. What happens in your fight? I'm
knocking him out. Round, I don't really care. But when the opening presents itself, I will take advantage.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for speaking SecondsOut. Appreciate it.